Hi, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, my name is Wendy, and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at places like garage sales, thrift stores, anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what's sold for February 11th through 17th. Before we get started, a few disclosures. We are part-time resellers. We don't do this full-time. It is our side hustle. We also own another business, which is a custom picture frame shop. And I also work part-time for a local consulting firm. The prices that I give today are going to include the prices that the buyer paid plus shipping. So in other words, they're all in price. And the net profit that I'm going to show on the screen is going to be the total price that the buyer paid. So they're all in price, minus our cost of goods, minus the cost of shipping, and minus any platform fees that were involved. So regular platform fees and any promoted fees that we may have paid on the item. All right, let's dive in. The first thing that we sold was 2 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle infant sun hats. We had purchased or picked up a bunch of these out of the Goodwill bins one day, and we were like super excited to find them. But it has been a really bad pickup. We just have not been able to get these to move. I think that we sold one other one a while back, and that's been the only one that sold until these 2 sold. We did reprice the way we had these listed, and we listed them for a low price plus shipping. So hopefully that will get some more interest on these items. Not sure at this point, these are the only ones that have sold. I'm thinking that we may have to pull these out for the garage sale. Not really sure. These are just not moving at all. I'm not sure why. I think they're really cute and we don't have them priced super high, so I'm not sure what's preventing them from selling. But for this particular sale, it was one of each of the different styles. They sold to the same buyer. We had paid $1.34 for those at the bins, and the buyer was all in on those for $13.58. Next up was an OEM Samsung remote control for a Blu-ray player. We found this also in the bins for 67 cents, and it sold for $10.99. One tip is if you do find electronics at the bins, if it's possible to take the batteries out of those, do take the batteries out, because that will make your weight higher and you'll be paying for those batteries, and most of the time the batteries don't work. So we always try to take the batteries out, especially of remote controls. Those are the main types of electronics that we pick up at the bins, but any kind of electronic that we can easily get into the battery compartment, we always try to check the battery compartment first thing because we want to see if it has any corrosion. But secondly, we try to remove the batteries so that we're not paying for that weight. All right, next up was a 4x6 postcard print. I described it as a postcard print because it was a high quality postcard that could be framed. We've actually framed many of these in our own business. This was by a Texas Impressionist artist named Henrietta Milan, and the name of the print was called Mood and Color. And this came from that other business that we own. We had no cost on it, and this postcard sold for $7 even. We were able to ship it in an eBay standard envelope, so that did save us some money. Next up was a 2015 Whammo Frisbee, like an original Frisbee brand flying disc. We found that in the bins for $1.18. This one was kind of a, bottom of the line Frisbee, I would say, and this one only sold for $7.68. Some of the higher end Frisbee brand, like the Whammo Frisbee brand Frisbees, we do sell on a regular basis for a little bit higher. So if you do see those and you can get them for like really cheap, like 25 cents, they might be worth picking up if they're in good condition. This one was just, kind of one of the cheap ones. Okay, next up was a set of 2 metal and resin angel cherub candlestick holders for taper candles. We got these out of a storage unit for 28 cents, and these sold for $19.98. And actually these had sold to a buyer who had purchased something that was in last week's What Sold, and she had purchased the angel button covers. So I guess she was a collector of angel items. Okay, next up was a vintage 1970s handmade red, white, and blue polka dot rockabilly style fit and flare vintage dress. We got this at a garage sale for $5 and it sold for $32.99. Okay, next up was a 1992 reprint of the 1947 Road to Liberty map. And that we got at that garage sale where we got the big bin of maps for $5. Our per map cost broke down to just 9 cents, and this one sold for $22.50. Next up was a pair of Levi's boys jeans. They were new with the tags. We got these at a garage sale for $5, and these sold for $19.99. Next up was a Spin Master DC Comics gray Batman bat boat. So this was a replacement part. It didn't have all of the weapons or didn't have the action figure that went with it. It was just the actual bat boat. We got this in a thrift store toy bag. We paid 43 cents for it and it sold for $13.99. Next up was a signed and numbered limited edition Ducks Unlimited print of the print Heads Up by Jerry Newman. I've mentioned this in previous videos. We have a bunch of these, and if you find any Ducks Unlimited prints in good condition, some of them are very, very valuable. These particular ones that we have quite a bit of damage on them, so we're selling them for way less than you would typically get for a Ducks Unlimited print. We got these from the other business that we own. We had no cost on these. They've been in our possession for a very long time, and this particular one sold for $35.99. Next up was a really big lot of 42 Cliffs Notes. We did have 2 repeats. You'll see I included that right in the title, but we had a bunch of Cliffs Notes. Some of them were vintage, some of them were newer. We got the majority of these at a thrift store, but we got some of them at an estate sale, some at a garage sale. They came from multiple different places. We were all in for $7.06 on those, and these sold for $42 even. Next up was a Poshmark sale. This was a pair of women's sandals by the brand Volatile, and they were brown beaded leather cork wedge flip-flop sandals. These were gifted to us to sell by a family member, so we had no cost, and these sold for $25 even. Next up was a vintage lot of 1994. It was 3 different packages of photo humor caption stickers. And they had all different ones. They had a sports theme, a vacation theme, and a wedding theme. And they were little like speech bubble ones that you could put on different pictures to, make them funny, to have them say different things. You could use them for scrapbooking or just, on actual snapshots to give them some humor. So we had gotten these at an estate sale for 54 cents and they sold for $14.99. Next up was a 2007 Bible Quest Story Chasers Adventure card game. It was complete. It was used, but it was complete. It looked like it had probably never been played. It was in really good condition. We got this at the thrift store for $1.35, and that sold for $11.98. Not tons of profit on that. It was actually made by a company that is local to us, so I don't know if that was primarily like a locally sold item or if it was something that was distributed nationally, not sure, but we just didn't get a lot of profit on that. So not an item I would pick up again. Okay, next up was a 1994 Topps Stadium Club Mike Piazza card. This was one of Kevin's cards and it sold for $2.18. Next up was an OEM RCA TV VCR replacement remote control. We tested it and it worked. We got that at a garage sale for 50 cents and it sold for $14.99. Next up was a pair of men's Echo shoes. These were brown leather lace-up Fusion bicycle toe Oxford shoes. We got these at a garage sale for $4 and they sold for $38.38. Next up was a women's Pink Republic cardigan sweater. It was a really soft cardigan sweater. I almost considered keeping it. I just did not personally like the colors of this one, but it was super soft, like the kind of sweater that you would just want to lounge around in at home. We got this out of a storage unit for 28 cents and it sold for $15.99. Next up was a 1950s vintage black velvet sleeveless top by a brand called Linda Original. It did have a flaw on it. I think there was some kind of flaw with a zipper. I don't remember exactly what it was. We did disclose it though. We got that at the same garage sale where we got that homemade rockabilly style dress. We paid $5 for this top and it sold for $26.18. Next up was a Sennheiser wireless microphone body pack transmitter. And we got that at a thrift store in a big bag of audiovisual equipment. We had paid $2.52 for that. It sold for $37.48. We had actually sold this item previously for significantly more. And the buyer had reached out to us, letting us know that he couldn't get it to connect to his microphone. And he did end up returning it, but oddly, he did not open a return through eBay. He just sent the item back, purchasing a label on his own. I mean, we offer free returns, so he could have gotten a free label if he had used the eBay system, but he just ended up purchasing a label on his own and sending the item back. That normally doesn't happen, but there definitely was a language barrier with this particular buyer, so I think that's why that happened that way. I think maybe he was just struggling to understand how the eBay return system worked, so ended up sending it back that way. But of course, we honored the return and refunded him. But when we did sell the item this particular time, we sold it as is. Since he was having an issue hooking it up to his microphone, we had thought that it was working because it was powering on well. Of course, we didn't have a microphone to connect it to, but we didn't think there was an issue with the item. But since the first buyer had had an issue, we just sold it the second time. No returns, sold as is for parts or repair, and still made profit on it, even despite having an issue with that first return. But that is one thing that I would definitely caution you. If you are selling something and you intend it to be sold as no returns for parts or repair, but maybe it's because the item is untested or you don't know if it doesn't work, definitely do not list it as used. Don't list it in the used category, because somebody who knows how to work the system in that way will be able to still open a return on you. You definitely want to sell that item in the for parts or repair only category, and that's in the condition of the item that I'm talking about. When you go in and you select whether it's new open box, used, or for parts or repair not working. If you don't know and you're selling it for no returns or as is condition, you always want to select that for parts or repair. And then you can type in the condition description that it may or may not work, but you're selling it as untested and it's sold as is. You know, the buyer is taking a risk and there are no returns. As long as you have that for parts or repair only condition selected in eBay, that protects you from somebody being able to open a return and saying that you misrepresented it as a used condition. Because used condition for people denotes that it is still working. So you definitely need to make sure to select for parts or repair as the condition if you are selling it as an untested item. Okay, next up was a 2021 Chick-fil-A kids meal toy. This was a book. It was new in the package. We got that out of a thrift store toy bag. We paid 27 cents for it, and it sold for $7.18. Next up was one of the Build-A-Bear outfits. This one was a 4-piece outfit, and it had a puffer vest, a t-shirt, shorts, a visor, and a hat. We got that at that garage sale for just $1, and it sold for $18.38. Every bear needs a good puffer vest, that's for sure. Okay, next up was a Votar Professional 14-inch by 17-inch metal 2-blade photography enlarger sizing board. So this was a big, heavy photography. It was kind of like the shape and size of like a paper cutter, but you know, it didn't have a blade on it. So, well, actually it says 2-blade. Maybe it did have a blade on it. Obviously, once again, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I just list the information that's on the product. But this was a large, heavy, like metal kind of piece of equipment. You'll see in the picture what it looks like. And it was difficult to pack. We got this at that church rummage sale where we got all of the photography equipment. We paid $1 for it, and it sold for $71.98. So despite my not knowing exactly what it is or what it did, we did make good profit on that item. And if I ever saw anything that looked sort of like that in the future, I'd probably pick it up. Okay, next up was a vintage 15 by 8 inch antique gold tone mirrored vanity tray or wall mirror. To me, it looked like a vanity tray that you would, put your perfume or something on, but it did have some places where you could hang it on the wall as well. So it could be used for either thing. We got this at a church rummage sale for $3.25, and it sold for $29.98. I have always had good luck selling vanity mirrors, vanity tray mirrors. Those have always sold really fast for me, so I always try to pick up anything like that I see. Next up was a women's pair of universal thread jean shorts. They were black. We got these gifted to us to sell by a family member, so we had no cost. They only sold for $9.99. I mean, universal thread is not a great brand, but they were free to me, so I did list them and they sold. Next up was a women's J. Crew pink and blue garment dyed relaxed fit shirt. We got this at the J. Crew garage sale. We paid $2 for it. It sold for $23 on Poshmark. Next up was a pair of 2 flatware pieces by Heirloom by Oneida. They were of the style Sestina. And we got these out of a flatware bag from the thrift store. We paid 29 cents for those, and they sold on $18.68. And a quick tip that I'll give you on identifying flatware, because flatware is one of those things that I can get hung up on, and it can really slow me down, and I can end up taking a long time to list items. But I did find a hack on listing flatware recently. There is a website called replacements.com, and they have a feature that's similar to Google Lens. You upload a photo of the flatware that you have, and it'll search their entire database of all of their items. And it's not just flatware. It is any kind of china or serving pieces or anything like that that you might be looking for. I would recommend just going on the replacements.com website and seeing the kinds of things that they sell. And those are the kinds of things that you can use their image search to search for, and it'll search their entire database. But I've been using it specifically for flatware, and it has saved me so much time, because before I knew about that, it was taking me forever to identify pieces of flatware, and that thing works really, really well. I mean, you do still have to do some searching, because there's so many flatware, there's so many copycat pieces and things like that, but it works great. So you just go in, it works exactly like Google Lens. You upload a photo into their image search, and then it pulls images from their database. So there's a great tip for you. It's called replacements.com. Okay, next up is a pair of Dr. Seuss Grinch holiday family pajamas. We had these in multiple different sizes, and for this sale, it was a kid's size 8 that sold. It was new in the package. I had gotten like a bunch of these at a garage sale. We had paid $5 a piece, and this pair sold for $19.99. Next up was a Fluke RMS multimeter tester. So this was like a voltmeter, and some of these can go for a lot of money. This was actually one of the lower end models, so there are some that can sell for a lot higher. We had gotten this at a garage sale for $25, and this one sold for $150, so definitely be on the lookout for these. Next up was an adult t-shirt by H&M. It was from Divided by H&M, and it had the Pink Panther all over print. I did notice that there was a Pink Panther collab with H&M, and I did notice that a lot of the Pink Panther stuff for H&M was selling really well. So if you see any of that, it might be worth picking up. I mean, it didn't sell for tons, but it seemed to have a really good sell-through. This was actually gifted to me to sell by a family member, so I had no cost. This shirt sold very fast for $20 even. Next up was a set of 2 Wright's 4-inch Dusty Rose pink rayon craft tassels. They were new in the package. We got those at a garage sale for 25 cents in a big bulk purchase of craft stuff. These sold for $6.88. Next up was a Walt Disney Cartoon Classics Donald's Scary Tales VHS. We got that at a thrift store for 26 cents and it sold for $12.99. That was actually one of my favorite ones as a kid. I did like scary stuff. I still like scary stuff. Next up was a PC game called Stellar 7. It was complete. It had the manual. We got that at a church rummage sale for 50 cents and it sold for $11.18. We'll generally always pick up PC games if we see them. They don't often sell for a lot. Some of them do, but they don't often sell for a lot, but they typically sell. And they, not always fast, but they just, you know, we don't ever have to worry about keeping them in stock forever. They generally sell and we'll always just count on them not sticking around in our store for too long. So they're just good bread and butter pickups. Next was a Texas Instruments TI-30X blue solar scientific calculator. It did not have the cover. We got that at a thrift store for $1.03 and it sold for $9.99. Next up was a Victoria's Secret white lace underwire halter push-up bralette. This was actually mine. I did not wear it. It didn't fit me. And so I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it sold for $15.98. Probably way less than what I paid for it. Next up was a Women's Express small gray hooded zip-up hoodie jacket or sweatshirt. This was gifted to us to sell by a family member, so we had no cost, and it sold for $25.59. Next up was a Simply Southern adult medium red, white, and blue patriotic t-shirt. Did have some wash wear. We were gifted that to sell by a family member, so we had no cost, and that sold for $10 even. And that wraps up all of our sales for this week. Before we move on to going over our totals, I want to quickly announce the winner of our Nina's Jewels t-shirt. And the winner this week is Piece of Scrap. Congratulations, Piece of Scrap. You're the winner of the Nina's Jewels t-shirt. Please reach out to us using our email address in the description box below. Let us know what size you prefer and what shipping address we should send to. And if you're interested in winning a Nina's Jewels t-shirt like this one right over here, all you have to do is be subscribed to our channel and drop a comment in this video. In fact, we're giving away a Nina's Jewels t-shirt on every What Sold video. So make sure that you stay tuned to find out if you won next week, and stay tuned to all of our future What Solds so that you can have a chance to win week after week after week. And make sure to share this video out to anybody who you think might be interested in winning the t-shirt or might be interested in reselling content. All right, let's go over all of our totals. The totals for this week were that we sold 38 items in total for an average sale price of $23.70. Our sales totaled $900.64 for a net profit of $469.47. And that wraps up all of our sales for the week of February 11th through 17th. If you enjoyed this video, let us know by hitting the like button, and make sure that you're subscribed with the notification bell on so you don't miss out on any of our future content and the ability to win a Nina's Jewels t-shirt on every What Sold video. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.